That persistent hum of anxiety in your soul, that feeling of unease that follows you around like a shadow. What if it isn't a sign of weakness or a mental flaw? What if it's not something to be ignored or suppressed? God's message for you today is a radical reframing of this difficult emotion. What if He is using what you fear the most to guide you to where you need to be? What if your anxiety is not a punishment, but a spiritual compass, divinely designed to alert you to the areas of your life that have fallen out of alignment with His perfect will? For too long, you have likely viewed your anxiety as an enemy to be defeated. You've battled it, prayed against it, maybe even felt ashamed of it, wondering why your faith isn't strong enough to make it go away. The stakes of this internal war are your peace and your purpose. Constant anxiety drains your energy, clouds your judgment, and keeps you from stepping into the fullness of your calling. But today, you are being invited to a ceasefire. Instead of fighting your anxiety, you are going to learn to listen to it. This message will teach you how to interpret the signals your anxiety is sending you, and how to turn your greatest source of stress into your most powerful and unexpected tool for spiritual growth and course correction. Feel the familiar tension in your chest or the knot in your stomach that comes with anxiety. Instead of recoiling from it, just for a moment, be still. That sensation is not a threat, it is a message waiting to be decoded, and you are about to be given the cipher. The first step in this reframing process is to understand the positive, God-given purpose of anxiety from a biological perspective. God designed your body with an incredible alarm system, often called the fight or flight response. When you perceive a threat, your brain releases hormones like adrenaline and cortisol. This is a gift. It gives you the energy to fight off a predator or flee from danger. In the same way, the emotion of anxiety can act as a spiritual alarm system. When you feel a persistent, low-grade anxiety that isn't tied to a specific, immediate threat, it can often be the Holy Spirit's way of getting your attention. It's a spiritual check engine light. It's a signal that something under the hood of your life is not right. It could be a relationship that is unhealthy, a job that is compromising your integrity, or a habit that is creating distance between you and God. Your spirit, which is in communion with God's Spirit, knows this, and it is trying to get a message to your conscious mind through the language of emotion. The quiet dis-ease in your soul is a merciful warning, an invitation to pull over and see what needs to be addressed. So, how do you decode the signal? Once you recognize anxiety as a potential spiritual messenger, the next step is to engage in curious inquiry. Instead of reacting to the anxiety with more anxiety, "Oh no, I feel anxious again," you pause and ask gentle, curious questions. You turn to God and you ask, "Father, what is this feeling trying to tell me? What area of my life is out of alignment with you?" This transforms your prayer from a desperate plea for the feeling to go away into a mature request for wisdom and revelation. It's the difference between trying to silence a fire alarm and trying to find the fire. You might get a pen and paper and journal your feelings. Ask yourself, when does this anxiety spike? Who am I with when it gets worse? What was I thinking about just before it started? As you prayerfully explore these questions, patterns will begin to emerge. You may discover the anxiety flares up every time you're about to gossip, or every time you interact with a particular person who consistently undermines your faith. The anxiety is not the problem. It is a symptom pointing to the problem. Imagine your anxiety is a compass, and the needle is spinning wildly. Your job is not to break the needle, but to hold the compass steady and ask God, which way is true north? He will use this process to guide you back to His path of peace. Once you have identified the source, the area of misalignment, the next step is courageous action. Revelation without action leads to frustration. If your anxiety is signaling that a certain friendship is toxic, you may need to take the courageous step of setting boundaries or even ending the relationship. If it's signaling that your financial habits are based on fear rather than trust in God's provision, you may need to take the courageous step of creating a budget and choosing to be generous. This is often the hardest part. The anxiety is a signal for change, and change can be scary. But the Bible promises that God's will is good and pleasing and perfect. The path He is calling you to may be difficult initially, but it is the only path that leads to lasting peace. The temporary discomfort of taking courageous, corrective action is far less painful than the chronic, low-grade pain of living a life that is out of alignment with your spirit. Feel the surge of empowerment that comes with this realization. You are not a helpless victim of your anxiety. You are an active participant in your own spiritual health, using the signals your body is sending you to make wise, God-honoring choices. This reframing of anxiety is not a replacement for professional medical or psychological help. God works through doctors and therapists, but it is a powerful spiritual tool to add to your toolkit. It allows you to partner with God in your own healing and growth. It transforms anxiety from a source of shame into a sacred invitation. It is an invitation to go deeper with God, to examine your life with honesty, and to make the necessary adjustments to walk in greater integrity and peace. Your anxiety is not a sign of God's absence. In a beautiful, paradoxical way, it can be a sign of His intimate presence, His loving refusal to let you continue down a path that is leading you away from His best for your life. He loves you too much to let you live in misalignment. The alarm is ringing not to condemn you, but to rescue you. It's time to stop fighting the alarm and start looking for the fire. The peace you seek is on the other side of the truth this signal is trying to show you. If this perspective on anxiety has offered you a new way to approach your struggles, consider following for more content that integrates faith and psychology for a healthier, more peaceful life.